Gonna try something novel this morning and preach from the pulpit. And by the end of this sermon, I hope that everyone who hears it will want to plant a tree. I hope everyone will want to plant a tree because in our gospel story today, 3 things happen to Nathanael while he's sitting under his fig tree. Now, caveat, I would not necessarily recommend planting a fig tree here in Pennsylvania. It would not be happy in this climate, but a birch, a maple, maybe a sycamore, these might do nicely. Think it over. I imagine that Nathanael is sitting under the fig tree because they're common in Galilee, where our story takes place. Perhaps Nathanael is taking a break from a walk or his work. Maybe he's seeking shade, or perhaps a moment of peace and quiet. The point is that the setting for this encounter is mundane. He's an ordinary person in an ordinary place, doing ordinary things. But 3 extraordinary things happen to Nathanael under his tree. 3 things, I think, that reveal our deepest human longings. 3 things happen to Nathanael that reveal our deepest human longings. First, Nathanael is found. Second, Nathanael is known. And third, Nathanael is called. He's found, he's known, and he's called. Nathanael is found under the fig tree by Philip. And Philip has just become a follower of Jesus, and it seems that his first act as a disciple is to recruit Nathanael. Philip announces that he and some others have found what they have been looking for, God's anointed one. And it's Jesus, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. Nathanael is less than impressed. It's kind of like the scene in the 2007 movie Ratatouille when Ego, the food critic, discovers that the brilliant chef he admires is actually a rat named Remy. Ego wilts and walks away without a word. So Philip's simple response, simple word to Nathanael is, come and see. Come and see. It's almost a dare. Philip seems to say, you can keep your prejudice and your figs if you want to, or you can come and see for yourself if there might just be something to this Jesus fellow. It's enough. See, Nathanael was neither seeking to find nor to be found, but the interruption is compelling enough to make a move. Can you relate? When have you felt found in a way that compelled you to do something or say something, to make a move? Again, when have you felt found in a way that compelled you to make a move? Next, Nathanael approaches Jesus and discovers that he is fully known by him. Jesus says of Nathanael, "Here truly is an Israelite in whom there is no deceit." Jesus names the people group to which Nathanael belongs and a character trait of which Nathanael is proud. And the effect on Nathanael is disarming. He's tuned in now, and he wants to know how Jesus knows these things about him. Jesus tells him that he saw him under the fig tree, and this being seen and known has a transformative effect on Nathanael. Being seen and known himself, Nathanael perceives and proclaims who Jesus is. being seen and known, causes Nathanael to perceive and to proclaim who Jesus is. Can you relate? When have you felt seen and known by someone so that your own eyes were opened in a new way? Have you had this experience where your own eyes were opened because you were seen and known? Jesus informs Nathanael that this is just small potatoes. It's only the beginning, because Nathanael is called. Nathanael is called to follow Jesus. And the first place that Nathanael follows Jesus, interestingly enough, is to his own hometown of Cana, right where he comes from. And he and the other disciples there in Cana, they see Jesus turn water into wine, and they believe in him. They find Jesus so compelling, and they are compelled by the way of life that he calls them to. Jesus is compelling for them, and they feel compelled by the way of life that he is calling them to. But make no mistake, it is a challenging way to live, this call to follow Jesus. Tomorrow, we remember the life and legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. King was a pastor, a leader of the nonviolent resistance to race-segregated society, recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize, and an American martyr. His call to follow Jesus was extraordinary, and I hope that you will hear about it and read about it this week. In King's honor, some of us have a day off of school or work tomorrow to take a breath, to seek solace or a moment of peace. And the reason that we have that, the reason that we keep this piece of our American history in sight year after year is because of Coretta Scott King, Dr. King's wife. You see, she educated and lobbied tirelessly for 15 years to make Dr. King's birthday a U.S. national holiday. It was a piece of her dream for what she called the beloved community, a movement to elevate the entire nation and even the world toward a place of true respect, love, and justice that transcends race, color, or creed. She worked for social change and peace until she died in 2006. Compelling lives and work, especially those rooted in the call to follow Jesus, bear the most fruit in community. It's in community where our calls to follow Jesus overlap and support one another. In the summer of 2020, I was sitting under a tree at Lidditz Springs Pool when I got a phone call from Pastor Rob asking about the possibility of coming to work here at St. Paul. His vision for this place was compelling, and I came to see what God was up to here among you. I did not know then, when I answered that call, that I would wind up in seminary to become a pastor myself someday. And I just returned yesterday from Luther Seminary in St. Paul, Minnesota, where I am currently a student. And I'm reminded again that my ability to answer the call to ministry is inextricably linked to this community of faith at St. Paul. In this community of faith at St. Paul, in which I have experienced being found, known, and called, and I give thanks to God for you. Jesus promises Nathanael that he will see greater things than being found under a fig tree or beside a pool. No less, in fact, than seeing heaven itself opened and the angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man. Nathanael follows Jesus from there, from that promise, all the way to the cross, where Jesus is glorified in death. In so doing, Nathanael shows us that ultimately we all have our deepest longings met under the tree on which Jesus died, the cross of Christ. We all ultimately have our deepest longings met at the cross of Christ. In the last chapter of John's Gospel, Nathanael comes to the shore where the resurrected Jesus invites his disciples to come and have breakfast, fresh fish and bread over a charcoal fire. Ordinary people in an ordinary place doing ordinary things. Only now, Nathanael and the others know. They know that Jesus is no less than the Lord of heaven and earth. Jesus is the one who moves between heaven and earth and opens heaven that we may also follow him there. So I hope you'll take the chance to plant a tree if you get one. A tree rooted in the earth and reaching toward heaven. And not for your own benefit, but as an expression of your call to follow Jesus. Plant a tree for the one who comes after you, an ordinary person in an ordinary place, doing ordinary things. Perhaps even someone who does not share your ability, age, culture, ethnicity, gender, or race, but who is no less beloved. Plant it for them that they may seek shade or a moment of peace. And may they, like Nathanael, like you, and like me, be found, known, and called to follow Jesus, the crucified and risen one. Amen.